Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. The world of fast fashion has complicated clothing production by shipping cheap parts around the world to whoever can sew them the cheapest. And now you, the consumer, are paying the price with rising costs. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. Skip the tariff and snag yourself American-made clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.
Hey everybody, it's Nicole Byer here with some hot takes from Wayfair. A cozy corduroy sectional from Wayfair? Yeah, that's a hot take. Go on and add it to your cart and take it. A pink glam nightstand from Wayfair? Scalding hot take. Take it before I do. A mid-century modern cabinet from Wayfair that doubles as a wine bar? Do I have to say it? It's a hot take. Get it at Wayfair.com and enjoy that free shipping too.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Thanks for selling your car to Carvana. Here's your check.
Whoa, when did I get here?
What do you mean?
I swear it was just moments ago that I accepted a great offer from Carvana online. I must have time traveled to the future.
It was just moments ago. We do same-day pickup. Here's your check for that great offer.
It is the future.
It's the present and just the convenience of Carvana. Sorry to blow your mind.
It's all good. Happens all the time.
Sell your car the convenient way to
Carvana.
Pickup times may vary and fees may apply.
Welcome back to Used to Sew, a podcast about sewing machines, sewing history, and sewing culture in the past and present. I am your producer and co-host Aradia, daughter of your main host, T.R. Kelly, who is here today to talk to you about sewing education. She went to a public school in Iowa in the 1970s. I went to a private school in Oregon in the 90s and aughts, and boy oh boy are there differences in those experiences. This episode's purpose is comparing and contrasting our experiences in the 70s and the aughts. From the framework of the school, to our family wealth brackets, to the project specifics, we both had very different conditions to navigate. We both identify as non-binary type people now, but how that flavored our experiences of school-mandated sewing is one of many, many, many differences that we discuss. Okay, full confession, I had to edit out a huge chunk of this episode because I completely fabricated a memory. Mom asks me about my first school sewing project, and I just completely spliced two different memories together and confidently described a garment that I didn't make until years later. When we get there in the episode, I'll insert a more accurate version of that story in place of the original. All of TR's responses to what I said still stand. It is just that I need to describe the correct garment, or else feel like a liar.
Well, welcome back to Used to Sew. It is a warm June day here in Western Oregon, USA. I know we have listeners all over the world. Hope it's a decent day where you're at.
Happy summer solstice, either way. Or winter solstice if you're in the other hemisphere. But, happy solstice.
Yeah, happy solstice. How are our friends down there in Sydney? Is it cold? Yeah. So here we are at 44 degrees north latitude, and we have a long dawn and a long twilight here since we're up on the curvy part of the earth. If you were going to cover the earth with fabric, you would be putting darts at our location.
We're on the darts of the earth. I love it.
We've been talking about a lot of cool machine-specific things and fast fashion things. And we want to take it back to not a tale of sales, but a sewing story nonetheless. We're going to compare and contrast our mother-daughter experiences 30 years apart in sewing machines in schools. Okay, like when I was in school, it was called home ec class, and all girls had to take it. That would be 1974 for me. And, okay, so that's my intro. 1974, home economics class, all girls have to take it, no boys allowed. Radia, give us your setting.
My setting was Waldorf handwork class, It was the perpetual continuation of the topic that we'd been on ever since kindergarten, really. We always had a handwork class. In 8th grade, we finally upgraded to getting to use electric machines because the prior 7 years had all been handcrafts of various sorts. And all kids took it. There was no gender segregation. There was no alternative for the boys versus girls. It was just everyone does handwork every week of every year forever. And in 8th grade, we're going to introduce the modern convenience of electricity. That was my 8th grade context.
Wow. That is cool. That I would support that in all schools, like life skills, handwork. I mean, and you guys, okay, so the analog to my home ec for girls was the boys took wood shop. You guys, was that part of handwork or was that a different module that you guys did?
Woodshop was its own separate module that got introduced in 6th grade. We got 3 years of woodshop. It was not a thing that little kids got to do. But once you got to be enough of a big kid, then they allowed us to have woodshop. And that was not optional, and it was not gender segregated. That was entirely just a regular part of the curriculum. And we did get to use power tools in woodshop from the get-go. We got to use electric sanders and a bandsaw and a drill press.
Oh.
That was allowed right off the bat.
I didn't know that part. You know what? I still have many wooden things that you kids made. I've got a like a chest box thing and a carved ladle and an egg.
Yeah.
Oh, and a plaque that you carved with hand tools that goes on the wall. So, man, these are things that are like, wow. That's like, hey, you kids, you guys also had cooking, if I remember right, and gardening and all these like real skills.
I mean, they tried. The cooking and gardening was a lot more spotty than the handcrafts. They really nailed it on the super like movement-based activities, but gardening I feel like was really spotty, and cooking definitely was very like we did it once or twice a year rather than constantly. In kindergarten, we did do bread every single week.
That's what I'm thinking of.
The teachers helped us make bread, but it definitely was much more at the teacher's discretion for special events as the other grades went by. But like handcrafts, we started out with finger knitting, which then moved on to regular knitting. And then eventually we got to do crochet. We had a whole segment where we learned how to turn cleaned wool into yarn. We didn't actually use the yarn, but we did get to go through the process of washing it and carding it and spinning it and like all of that. That was shown to us. Wow. And then we got to do hand sewing at some point. Oh, we knit socks. I remember 5th grade was the year that we all knit socks with 4 needles. That was, moving from 2 needles to 4 needles is a whole thing. Oh. We had to make the needles first, too. They gave us little thin dowels, and we had to sand them down into the double-ended needles that we then used to knit the socks.
Now, man, this is the school. I mean, when I first checked out Waldorf school for you, when you were kindergarten, I'm like, dang, can I be 5 again? I want to go to this school. But it was the emphasis on real world skills there. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot to criticize about Waldorf in general and individual schools, and it's not the right fit for everyone, but I consider my experience to be pretty top shelf. It went about as well as it could go for a kid like me. And yeah, getting the confidence I needed to do handcrafts kind of badly. Like I can just kind of pick one up and do it badly and it's fine. Like I can pick up cross stitch and not be particularly good at it. But also I remember doing a lot of cross stitch. So it's like, even if I'm not good at it, whatever, it's fine. Embroidery on my clothes. Like I've had a dress that I made that I got a irremovable stain on and I just embroidered over it. I was just like, well, I'll just embroider it. Like it just didn't feel like an exceptional thing to do. Like that skill was just there. Same with musical instruments. Like not that has anything to do with sewing, but they forced us to do so many different kinds of music that I'm comfortable just sort of noodling around on a lot of different things, even though I'm not very good at it. Because I'm like, well, there was that 6 months in elementary school when I was forced to learn the principles of how this works. So,
Those things make a person, I mean, contrast that with mainstream education. In so many ways. I mean, Waldorf education, like you said, there's not perfect, and people have issues with this or that or the other thing, but the core element of learning basic humaning skills is just timeless, And the fact that you guys would have the same teacher, I don't know if people know about that about Waldorf, is the teacher stays with the class as they move through the grades. And so you've got this like other adult in your life teaching you stuff. Now let's take a quick zoom back to 1974 in not wonderful progressive Oregon, but the heartland of the U.S. Let's go to Council Bluffs, Iowa, right smack dab in the middle of the country. And the curriculum at public school is that girls will take home economics in 7th grade, and boys will take shop, which is divided into wood shop and metal shop. And that's just what it is. If you're a boy who's just really not into power tools and would rather learn how to bake, tough. If you're a girl that doesn't want to wear the mandatory skirt that you're going to sew and would rather build a box out of wood, tough. We don't allow gender traders. No. All right, so here we are, 7th grade, home economics class. I do not remember the teacher's last name, but her first name was Phyllis. And she had one of those big ratted blonde hairdos and blue eyeshadow. We're talking 1974.
Oof.
And home economics is divided into 4 units. Cooking, sewing, domestic, was something about vacuuming, domestic engineering. I don't remember what the... something about how to use the vacuum and all those other things. So cooking, sewing, household management. That's what it was, household management and personal care. These are the 4 things that you girls have to know. And here's the silent part. To catch a husband. Ugh. Right? We're going to train you women. We're 12, 13 now. We're becoming women. That's part of the personal care module, We're going to train you how to be desirable housewives. You got to learn the skills for housewifing, which is cooking and sewing and cleaning. Now, there wasn't any... I've heard that in the 90s, in the 80s, that they actually added a family module on where kids had to carry around these artificial babies and feed them and change them.
Oh, that was a thing through the 90s. I definitely remember hearing strange stories about my age cohort peers in faraway mainstream school having that experience.
Yeah. And apparently it was very successful in lowering teen pregnancy rates there. But that was in 1974 in Iowa was hush hush, and we knew one girl that got sent to Europe or something to visit an aunt for the summer, whatever. So here we are, first day of school. We're going to start with cooking. Oh God, I still don't cook. I don't. Okay, I was a nightclub musician for a long time. Meals were included.
Strategic.
I'm going to go have a steak dinner and then go sing jazz. Okay. And then all of my partners have been good cooks. So, so here I am, 7th grade. No, cooking. What? Yeah. I don't know how I got through that because the texture of flour on my hands, we had to make biscuits and measure things. And I could never remember, was it a 1/4 cup of this or it was a failure. It was a failure. It was a total failure. Then the second module, sewing. All right. Now we're talking. My best friend, Laura, she had done pretty good at the cooking part. Her biscuits were edible. I mean, yeah, we had 2. Yeah, those are great. Sewing. Oh, my God, the look of terror on her face. And here I'm like, yeah. Uh-huh. So our machines were these sort of army green-looking Kenmores. Fleet of Kenmores. It's like, okay, class, reach into your desk and pull up the sewing machine. Oh, I didn't know there was a machine in there. This is cool. Open it up. Now we're going to learn how to thread it and this and that and the other thing. So we learned about how to operate the machine. That took about a week, threading and this and that and practicing on scrap fabric. And then we have to pick a pattern. And there's two. And they're both skirts.
Ew. I mean, I can see it. Skirts are easy from a shape perspective.
And skirts are what women wear. Right?
That part, less jazzed about that.
Now, there's words for people like me nowadays that there weren't back then. I was probably what you would call agender, not even gender fluid, not gender fluid. Genderless. I really tried hard to not be a boy or a girl. I just didn't want to be part of that. I just wanted to be a scientist or something. You know, it's like the whole sex thing was very confusing. Wait till we get to personal care. It's like, so I don't want to sew a skirt. I'm never going to wear a skirt. That's not going to happen. Okay, we're in 7th grade now. There's not a dress code in 1974. There was when I was in elementary school. Oh, yeah. Now I'm allowed to wear just a black pair of pants and a turtleneck and call it good. But no. We have to make a skirt. Well, my family was poor. My mom didn't sew. We didn't have all the supplies laying around the home like some kids did because you had to bring scissors and thread and sewing machine needles, all the things you had to bring, plus the fabric, the pattern. We're talking more about $20 worth of stuff.
In 1974 money?
Yeah.
That sounds like a modern sort of school situation. I'm surprised that was in the 70s.
Well, they assumed that everybody's mom had this stuff at home that they could bring. They assumed that.
We love implicit bias. This is not being on the bias cut. This is systemic bias, different bias.
We lived in a government housing project. We were refugees from being abandoned by my dad. We had furniture that was bought at auction. I had like 3 sets of clothes to wear and was never let to forget how, you're wearing the same thing again. And they want me to bring $20 worth of sewing tools to school to sew a pattern that I'm not going to wear? Now, I wasn't really able to talk to the teacher, but I came home to Mom and kind of explained this and showed her the list, and she just shit a brick, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She went to school and talked to the teacher and said, I don't have these tools. I can't afford to buy these tools. My daughter won't wear a skirt. You know, you come up with something else for her to sew, and I'll get all these tools. So they came up with me and one other girl, Dottie was her name, and we were those odd girls that weren't really girls, but we weren't boys either. But everybody, you just put somebody like us in a room full of kids, and they'll know, that's the weird one. So me and Dottie got to sew a stuffed animal. Yeah.
Oh, that rules.
So the teacher made an exception, and we got this pattern, and you could make a mouse or a rabbit. It was like 3-dimensional stuffed animals, and they were cool. So I made this mouse. So I was all excited. So we went to Kmart, and Mom actually paid for the scissors and the pin cushion and the thread and the tape measure and the pattern and the interfacing and the fabric. And it did come up to about $18.47 or something like that. And I sewed that mouse, and I did a damn good job of it. And I had it for about 40 years, and it got lost somewhere.
Aww.
The whiskers and the eyes were gone. The tail was gone. But dang it, I had that mouse. And that was the first thing I ever sewed on a sewing machine. And I was so dang proud of it. And my mom was really proud of me for just saying, no, I'm not, she did the hard work, but she was proud of me for standing up and saying, no, this is not working for me. So it just didn't make me a whole lot of friends in 7th grade, though, because, of course, I had to be special and different somehow, even though I didn't want to be special and different. I just wanted to be a scientist. So my mouse was great. Okay, my friend Laura, she made a skirt. Well, after picking out the seams, breaking the needles, sewing her finger, tangling the thread, every possible thing, jamming the sewing machine, cutting the wrong fabric. She actually used her babysitting money to pay her mom's friend to sew the thing for her. She took it home to finish, and she paid a lady to sew it for her. She got away with it. I think she only got a B on it because it had been ripped out so many times, but she did manage to complete it. And she told the ladies, like, don't sew it too good. It has to look like Laura did it, but she has to finish it, and she just can't. She's just overloaded. No, we're still friends on Facebook, and we still joke about that class. She goes, you loved sewing machines even back then. You could make it do anything. You know, you were really good at it. And I was over there sewing my finger and stuff. So I was like, yeah, but you made biscuits, and I still can't make biscuits.
We can't all have the same skills.
Okay, so let's zoom back to the 90s. Aradia, tell us about when you started using the sewing machine. Tell us your story about that.
Well, I don't actually remember what my first completed project on a sewing machine was. I know I've been fiddling with them since the dawn of time because you had them around when I was very small.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My first experience with a sewing machine is lost to the mists of time.
Well, but at school. Let's just focus on school.
Okay, school, that means we're going to need to zoom up just a skosh more to about 2004.
Oh, that's right.
Give or take, early 2000s. Yeah. We are post 9/11, but like pre-2008.
Okay.
Right? Like we're right in that pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's 8th grade, and we finally get to use electric sewing machines, which, as I recall, you and Dad had purchased for the school not that many years prior. You had gotten the fleet of sewing machines set up sort of in anticipation of me coming along, but also just because you had a chunk of money you needed to disperse, and that fit the chunk.
Yeah. Your dad got an unexpected, it was about $3,000, and we went and negotiated with our local dealer, the Ricard dealer. We said, we need 25 machines, we need service. We believed in what the school was teaching. And at the time, they just had a bunch of mismatched vintage machines that I had got, and no two were alike, and they were just kind of hard for the kids. So having all the same ones, we felt was a really important use of our disposable income that year. So yeah, continue.
Right, yeah. So they were, very gently used at that point. They had been used, like the tables had started to get a couple of distinct, like marks on them from use. Like a few classes had gone through there. And the room was so narrow. It was like, so the building I was in was really old. It was like an old house, schoolhouse thing, 2 stories. It was massive. And the sewing room was like, I don't know, like a void between 2 rooms or like an old hallway or something. It was really long and skinny. So you could just barely fit, machines down each side, and then the kids could be there, and there'd be a very narrow aisle. So the whole room was very claustrophobic. But yeah, they were, after so many years of doing fiber crafts and needle crafts, to get to use fabric, like I think the year before we had made puppets.
Yeah.
We had made marionettes by hand, and we had made the clothes for the marionettes by hand. So we'd done a bit of fabric work, but fabric still felt like a little bit like, ooh, ah. So we get to work with the machines, and then they tell us fairly early on in the year, so the mission is to make a piece of clothing to wear in your 8th grade graduation. That's the mission. That's the year-long project. Because 8th grade in particular, they were really, everything was a year-long build-up to something. Each year had something, but oftentimes it would be just a season or whatever. But the older we got, the more they gave us these big, yearly cycles. So, yeah, they're you need to pick what kind of a garment you want to make, and then we'll figure out a pattern and figure out what fabric you want, and try to, use the teachers to keep you in scale to what your skill set is and the time allotted. And we had, my main class teacher was not particularly competent at sewing. So that was entirely one of those things that was handed off to the specialty teachers, which were also parents in the student body, because that's just how they did education there. I don't remember a lot of the specifics. I don't think they gave us a lot of constraints. I think they really were just tell us your vision and we will work to make a realistic plan that is actually achievable.
Yeah, they weren't saying we're going to make pattern number 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick your size. They're show us your vision.
Right.
We're going to help you. That's cool.
And also Waldorf had not exactly a dress code. They didn't have a uniform, but they had a very restrictive list of things you couldn't do with your outfit. And they were very open to different fabrics and designs and stuff. As I recall for this, there was some boys who were definitely pushing the limits as far as they could. And they were given pretty open season to do whatever kind of like zany jester wild pattern that they wanted to do.
I do remember that one kid. I remember that one kid
one?
with the jester hat. Yeah.
Yeah, that was him very specifically pushing the boundaries to see how outside of Waldorf's usual aesthetic he could go. And they were like, you know what? If it gets this kid to finish a project, we will literally not stand in his way. So, you know, they knew how to yes and kids maybe better than mainstream education was.
Yeah.
So I picked for mine, I decided I was, you know, transitioning from my princess era to my goth era. I was kind of like in between those two end members.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted a flowy princess dress thing. And they were like, okay, maybe a shirt would be more realistic, right? Because a fitted dress is, we don't have that kind of time in the year, right? Because I'm only doing it for, I think we did 2 hours a week was how long we spent on this project. Like, so, you know, we really didn't have a lot of time. And here we come to it, the memory that I got wrong. They didn't help me make a shirt. I made a sleeveless dress with ribbons for shoulder straps, black fabric, and maroon ribbons. They saw my fitted sleeve design and said, nope. I think the fabric was like a stretchy knit with lines kind of like corduroy, and the ribbons were attached with buttons. It was one of those dresses that is just basically a cylinder, so pretty easy to make. I did make the shirt that I erroneously ascribed to 2004 in something like 2014 when I was learning to sew on a treadle. I have a sort of eternal kind of style choice, and also sometimes my memories can just fold over each other. I cannot find that 8th grade dress in my stuff. I can't recall getting rid of it, but also I don't know when I last saw it, so there's still a chance that I got some parts of this memory wrong, but you get the idea, I hope. And let that be a lesson to us all about how valuable memory can be. Even when there is no particular reason to rewrite the details, it can just happen. Okay, back to the episode.
I do remember that you had really dark eye makeup on. I remember you looked very, very...
Yeah, because they were finally they were losing their ability to tell me not to wear eye makeup, you know, because I was like getting senioritis, and it's like, yeah, guys, it's the 2000s now. I don't think you can stop the 8th grader who's about to graduate from wearing eyeliner. It didn't look good, to be clear, because it was 8th grade, and I was not good at putting makeup on. But like I was doing it.
You know, but from the back of the auditorium, it read really well.
And I was in my era of wanting to be a stage performer still. So stage makeup was definitely the vibe I was going for.
Definitely. But you did. The whole, what you said about between your princess and your goth phase, that was exactly the look you had going there. That was perfect.
Yeah. I was going for like the Cleopatra eyes, but, you know, with all the finesse of an 8th grader. So.
Oh, come on. It was the era of Amy Winehouse, the 90s, the big winged eye. Yeah, man.
Yeah, totally.
The early aughts, yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I can't really remember what everyone else made. I don't think anyone else had quite as dramatic of a goal as me, aside from the jester hat.
The jester hat.
And also a vest. There was the boy that made the jester hat, and then the boy also made a vest that was like really quite nice, but he went with very wild fabric choices for that as well. And it turned out pretty good. I think that he was that was so, I remember that the vest came out really good. Like maybe the best of all of us. It's like, what, you're the best sewist in this class? Like, no. But yeah, sure, I guess so.
When everybody gets a chance, you might not even have realized, I mean, this kid might not even have realized that he had the flair for that or the interest in it. But when you say, quote, forced.
No, I mean, he was the most rebellious, like, always had his hair in his eyes. Like our teacher, it was like he was one of the troublemakers in a very like general sense. And like for him to just casually come out with the best fitted garment was like, okay, did not expect that of you. But
that's right, because so many times school is so focused on book learning, and then you give kids a chance to do something with their hands, kinetic learning, and you see a whole different side of them. I mean, my brother's 2 years younger than me, and we had moved to Washington, and Washington's more progressive, and he's younger. So when he got to that point in his schooling, it was called career exploration. And you had cooking and sewing and working on cars and financial literacy. And there was all these different skills. And he got to make a really cool barbecue apron.
Oh, that is so him.
He's a grill meister now. And my husband, Randy, he's even a little younger. And in his school, they had something, I don't know the title, but he made a neat little drawstring denim bag that we still have. We use it to carry guitar stands in. It's like, wow, how cool is that? And I lost my darn stuffed mouse. But the boys still have their projects. Yeah, giving kids a chance in an educational setting to, here, try this, see if you like it. If you don't, then like you said, hey, I've tried enough of these things and I'm willing to give it a go. And really, that's the best attitude that serves you through life. Hey, yeah, I'll give it a go. So like when you run into the thrift store and see that cool old sewing machine, yeah, I'll give it a go. Maybe I can get that running again. What are you going to lose? $15? Give it a go. Give it a try. Don't rely on experts. Nowadays, too many people are relying on experts to do things for them. You got to pay somebody money to do things you ain't got time to do because you are too busy earning money. No, take some of that money and start a craft. I mean, I took a class last year. A friend of mine is a very accomplished oil painter, and she gave a beginning class. And I was, sure. And I took it, and I'm terrible. I'm just terrible.
But that's not the point.
That wasn't the point. The point was I was paying her for her skills to show me. I learned a lot of stuff about how colors work and how we see things. And I mean, but I'm never going to be a painter. But to learn about how it worked and give it a go and smell the paint and feel it on the canvas. And it was fun. But it's an expensive hobby, and I have a lot of hobbies. But it was definitely worth $100 to spend a couple weekends out in nature farting around with oil paint. Just give it a go.
Hell yeah. Because it's a journey over destination, right? Like the world doesn't need a cutthroat world of everyone being the very best painter. The world needs a lot of people who are comfortable with slapping some paint on some canvas for like kinetic, somatic, regenerative reasons.
Yeah, I love the smell of the paint. I really do. It was great. I love the sound of the, paint putting on the thing. You don't have to be the best at something. You don't have to monetize it for shit's sake. This whole gig economy side hustle thing.
As an indie podcast producer, please don't monetize your hobbies.
Don't monetize your hobbies. You know what, guys? We are not depending on you to keep this podcast on the air. We could give a fuck. The fact that you're here listening, that's the best. Because we're doing it because myself, I drive people nuts monologuing about this stuff all the time anyway. Why not have a few people along for the ride? If you want to support us with money, damn, we'll put it to good use, really. We'll go on field trips and buy fabric and sewing machines and eat hot dogs. Vegan ones, of course. You know what I'm saying? You can support us because you love us, but we're not going to do one of those public radio, oh, please give us money or we're going to go off the air. Okay, I went off on a rant there.
Well, I will say, as the editor and producer, I don't mind getting paid for what I'm doing.
Well,
I am trying to make this a career, but I'm in it for the love of the game and hoping that somehow, despite capitalism, I will make money at it. And, mixed bag so far. We'll
tell you what you are paying for because this is not free. There's costs for putting stuff on the air and this and that and the other thing. So it's, we're doing it for the love, but yeah, it's like, hey, TR, will you stop by with your guitar and play a few songs? Well, maybe. Will you do it for pizza and $50? Oh, hell yeah.
Yes, quite. But yeah, it's good to feel confident farting around with sewing. It's good to feel like I haven't knit in 20 years, but I'm pretty sure I could reteach myself from YouTube. Not a big deal. I have tried this multiple times. It has, in fact, been a big deal. I apparently don't like knitting. I don't recall not liking knitting as a small child, but as an adult, I have really struggled to reconnect with knitting. But I'm comfortable coming back to it every 6 months and seeing if maybe I can figure it out this time. Like, I don't know. I think I'm afraid to pick up a lot of new hobbies that I have never tried before, but I'm very confident returning to ones that I have repeatedly bounced off of since childhood, just because, well, I mean, Waldorf made me do it. So I'm comfortable doing that. So I don't know. Maybe I need to get better about picking up new stuff as an adult. But either way.
I keep bouncing off. There's a hobby that I really want to have so bad, and I've tried it 3 times and failed all 3 times, and I still want to do it. Can you guess? Model railroads.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that I feel embarrassed that did not immediately come to mind. Of course, it's model railroads. Yeah.
Talk about expensive hobbies, people. Oh, and they take up a lot of space and time and money and money and money. What I really want is somebody to build me a layout so I can push a button and watch little trains go around. But that's subtle. I was sitting here stepping on the foot pedal and watching the needle go up and down, even when there's no fabric. I just like to watch little mechanical things. And I've realized that. So now I go to model railroad shows like a couple times a year and get my fix. It's like, no, TR, you don't have to do that. You can really enjoy it. Well, you can stick to sewing machines and guitars and birding. Okay. You just calm down. Just stay there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that other people have put in the work and the money and the time and just the sheer brain power to like create those experiences for the rest of us. And like we all make a few things and enjoy a few things that we don't make. And that's beautiful.
Supporting each other, like now that I've decided, look, I'm not going to chase model railroads or oil painting. I'm really going to double down on my lifelong love of sewing machines and sewing and fabric and all that stuff. In addition to, I'm also a musician. I spent the weekend putting down tracks for somebody's album. So those are the 2 things that I focus on. And now that I say that's what I do, I have a lot more heart and energy for each thing. I've got all these sewing machine carcasses staring at me. I can't wait to get back into restoring things, get your Davis treadle put together, get my Davis painted and decaled. There's so much good stuff going on, and I've got a few weeks here. So hopefully you and I are going to get together and take a few field trips, definitely over to Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine Service, who is our unofficial sponsor, because he's got a 319W over there for me. I can't wait to get a hold of it. Ooh. All right, folks, a little blast back into the smell of an old school. You know that one. The buzz of fluorescent lights. The hum of sewing machines. Stay threaded, folks. It's been fun yakking with you today, and we'll see you next time.
And there you have it. The difference that 30 years can make between 2 generations' experiences of school sewing classes. We talked about how Waldorf was different from public school, how classism made strict gender roles worse, and why being bad at something is better than having no experience at all. Experts are useful sometimes when performing surgery or sending rockets to the moon, but when it comes to enjoying your life through hobbies, experts are overrated, especially if you expect yourself to become one. We also got off track talking about the hazards of monetizing hobbies, but don't let that dissuade you from joining our Patreon. We also had to deal with my little memory glitch. I hope the edit and explanation worked out for you. I probably could have hidden that whole thing, but while I enjoy my magic powers from the editor's chair, I also value doing this hobby for the love of the content, which means not hiding the real human experience of storytelling. Sometimes we make shit up, combine memories, lose or change details, and I think it is important to be able to recognize and acknowledge when it happens, so that we can calibrate for our best approximation of the truth in a good faith effort. We did actually record 2 episodes for you this last recording session, so I can tell you quite confidently that next week will be a long digression on needles, which are the entire point of a sewing machine. As a reminder, we are unofficially sponsored by Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, who do repairs and restorations. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can support us by sharing the podcast with your friends, and also with money, at patreon.com/used2sew. Thank you for listening to us here at Used to Sew. We always welcome your additions, corrections, and feedback in general. Please reach out to us via email at used2sew@gmail.com. Used to Sew is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.